All right, we are now streaming live on YouTube. Just give me a few seconds to get set up over here, as there's a few things that I need to get straightened up. If you are watching the replay of this, please feel free to skip through this part. I am going to be putting some timestamps beneath this, so that way you can jump exactly to the parts within this. So just bear with me for a few moments while it gets set up. As you all come in here and join me, please make sure to go ahead and drop me some comments. Let me know that you're in here. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me just get myself set one more time real quick. So what we're going to be talking about today is something that honestly has probably been one of the most impactful things in my career, both in terms of building my own businesses and also helping clients, and that's content. And fundamentally, we as marketers, we as agencies, we as consultants, we know how important content is, because you literally can't do anything when it comes to marketing without content, right? Whether that's advertising, whether that's SEO, whether that's email marketing or social content, right, is the glue that I say all the time holds together all marketing campaigns. Now, the problem with content, the challenge that we face with content is a number of things. Number one is we usually tend to target it wrong. And because we target it wrong, it doesn't have any business impact. It doesn't drive business results. And if you're working with clients, you probably heard this a lot, like, hey, great, but this is content for the sake of content. It's not actually helping us increase our pipeline or our top line. And that's what I want to focus on in this video. We've got this amazing content framework, again, that I've been leveraging for years across all of my businesses and across clients to help create content that actually drives business value, that actually moves the needle on building pipeline if you're a B2B company, or driving top line revenue. And the key to this is really all about solving problems as opposed to just tackling keywords. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I've got this deck that I've got built here. Cool. It looks like we are up and running here. Do I got a little thing here? Nice. I can draw on here too. Cool. So as I said, for all of you that are here in the chat, go ahead and leave me some, I'll get off this thing, stupid thing. Leave me some comments here. I'm going to do a Q&A towards the end of this. I'm going to get through some of these slides, but please feel free. Come in here, say hello, say what's up. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, wait a second. I think I'm sharing my wrong screen. Hold on one second. Apologize. There we go. All right. So again, the topic that we're going to be talking about here is creating content that actually makes money, not just content that, I don't think I'm sharing my right screen here. For those of you who are in here, can you guys see my screen? Because I'm actually looking at the live here, and it looks like it's not sharing the right screen. Let me try this one more time. Oh, of course, there it goes. All right, perfect. All right, so again, creating content that actually makes money. So for me, the key thing here is simplicity, right? When it comes to content, we tend to get incredibly overwhelmed. We tend to try and do too much, and we end up in this paralysis by analysis stage where we don't actually get anything done. So I know all the excuses when it comes to content. I can't write, I'm bad on camera, I don't have the time. The thing is the market doesn't care, right? And when I work with our coaching clients over the Blueprint training, our clients over at Weber's, I tell people all the time, like, I don't care either, right? You have to create content, and you got to figure out a way to do that, no matter what tactic you decide to deploy, whether that's advertising or SEO, whatever you're going to use to build pipeline for your company. Now, the more content that you can create, the better that this is going to be, but you don't have to be Gary over here. Love him, but you don't have to create that much content. It's just not that serious. What you need to do, though, is create a handful of really good content that speaks directly to the problems and pain points and headaches of your target customers. That's key. It's all about pain points, solving problems, and headaches. If we can create content around that, then we're going to have success, and we don't need a lot of this. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So a lot of you out here that are watching this are a lot like myself. We want to do the bare minimum here. I understand how busy everyone is. I am too. And it's difficult to document your entire life, if that's even who you are. It's not in my personality to do that. But really, there's 5 pieces of content, just 5 pieces of content that I want to focus on. These are the pieces of content that if you're going to create, and when you create, this is what you want to focus all your content around. So again, the key here is to solve problems. If you can solve problems, then you will make money, I promise you. So you just need to understand one thing, is that if the content you're creating does not solve a problem, if it's just targeting keywords, if you're going after a huge list full of like 50, things to do in Miami or whatever, it's not worth creating because it's not going to have any business impact for you. This is when you get stuck in the content for the sake of content or traffic for the sake of traffic. Content that converts is content that solves a problem. Especially, we're talking mostly B2B here. Any company that needs pipeline, that needs leads to grow, content is going to be your best vehicle to do that. Again, whether you're doing advertising, whether you're doing cold outbound outreach, it doesn't matter. You need content in order to make that happen, and it's got to solve a problem. So we like to borrow from the jobs to be done framework. This was developed, I think by like a Harvard grad student, probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it's used heavily in the big consulting world. And essentially what this comes down to is it says that customers are looking for products or solutions or services to help them do jobs on a day-to-day basis. I like to just tweak this a little bit and go more into the problem-based stuff, because to me, when you talk about problems, when you talk about headaches, when you talk about anxieties, there's feeling attached to that, right? I have no emotion about a job. A job is just a job that needs to be done. And most employees don't give a fuck about their jobs. Pardon my French. They just want to get it done and go home. However, if there's a problem attached to that, if there's an anxiety attached to that, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's how we can get people to drive into action. So if we're solving problems, if we're speaking to headaches and anxieties, if our content addresses that head on, then inherently there is going to be action that comes out of this content. So this framework helps us focus on outcomes as opposed to features. This is another big thing that I see, especially software companies doing, is just spending way too much time talking about themselves, right? That's what this graphic over here says. It's not me, me, me. Look at our services and features. Look at how cool our software is. Look at how it does this and does that. It's not about me. It's about you. It's always about the person on the other end. And when we focus on them and we create content that solves problems, it opens up a much better dialogue. And even though we might be giving them the whole kitchen sink, I promise you, they're still going to come to you and ask you for your help to solve the problem that they're having, if that maps, especially if that maps directly to the service or the product or the software that you create. So tell us all the time, people look at me as an SEO, and that's fine. I'm an SEO, definitely an SEO by trade here, right? My background is in SEO, got my start in SEO. But at the end of the day, creating content is not about the keywords. It's not about just finding a list of keywords and hammering out content against that. We really want to, again, focus on the problems as opposed to the keywords. So we need to put down the keyword research tool and focus more on the customers and focus on what keeps them up at night. So this is a pretty good graphic that kind of illustrates the problem solving, the outcome based, the jobs to be done, all these things kind of rolled into one. So it says, even though a customer buys this, which is all the pieces that go into a skateboard, they really want this, which is to do kickflips, which is to enjoy themselves, which is to be outside, which is to get out of the house, to get exercise, right? This is the outcome, right? And this is what we want to focus on. All of these things here, these are features. These are, service elements, right? If you're an agency, this is your services. Like, people don't want SEO. They want customers. Software people hiring a software company don't want a CRM. They want to be able to close more deals. They want to be able to streamline their operations, all the above, right? They want the outcome, right? And that's what we want to focus on. This is a key part of understanding what this content framework is. Again, for those of you joining, please go ahead and drop some comments in the YouTube chat. It's going to go through this deck and present this, but I'm going to be answering a lot of questions, going to open us up for Q&A. And I want to actually, take some examples from you guys so I can help to mold this to your business as well. So now let's get into the 5 pieces of content, as I promised, right? This is about 5 very simple pieces of content, a framework that we want to follow that will always make sure that we're creating content that solves problems and not just tackling keywords. So first piece of content here is content that explains how to solve your prospect's main problem. So we have to understand what the main problem is first, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And we want to just create one piece of content that tackles that head on, right? So for example, our agency primarily works with B2B companies, right? We help you generate more leads. We do that through SEO. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, this is how to do SEO. I'm going to frame it as, this is how to get more customers organically from Google on autopilot, right? Because I'm focusing on the outcome of what their problem is and how to get them to where they want to be, as opposed to, here's how to do keyword research. Here's how to do link building. They don't care about that. And especially the prospects with money, they don't care about that. They want to know how you're going to solve the problems and what that main problem is. You have to identify that. And we'll talk about that in just one second. The next piece of content here is going to be content that explains how to solve your prospects' ancillary problems, right? So the main problem is what they want out of your, working with you, whatever it is that you offer. Ancillary problems are going to be things that make up that problem. So again, if we're talking about, we do SEO for B2B companies, then the problems that make that up, the symptoms or the headaches of this main problem, right? So an example of that, which I'll give you plenty of examples as we go through this, but example of that could be, again, if we work with B2B companies, it could be about, how to create content that actually ranks in search, because a lot of our customers, when I listen to them during the sales process, right, which we'll talk about in a second as well, is they talk all the time about how they hired an SEO agency, but they didn't solve the problem. They got them more traffic, but they didn't get them customers. And that's why they were coming to us, because they want customers. So part of that is content for the sake of content. So we create content around how to create content, like this very webinar that you're watching right now on what actually drives customers, not content that ranks. It's an easy way to differentiate yourself and stand out in the market, right? And it's also an easy way to bring in customers for yourself. So those are ancillary problems, and I'll dive into that a little bit more in a second. And then the third piece of content is content that showcases case studies or proof that you are capable of solving your prospects' problems. So it could be case studies, customer stories. What I really like, though, are long form videos or blog posts that don't talk about us, but it talks about the problem, right? And then how we solve that as the back end. And I'll give you some examples that's a little bit confusing. And I realize all these things might be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to give you much more context on this. I promise as we get into this, I'm going to give you examples of all these real examples. So the next one, fourth one down, is content that provides high level or interesting, entertaining information related to your prospect's problem. So I like to call these like listicles and roundups. The reason why I love this type of content is because it's very good to break in with cold audiences. It's very good at the top of the funnel. Again, I'll give you more examples. And the fifth one down is content that provides useful templates or tools that help to solve your prospects' problems. So one thing that you'll notice here is that it's all about solving problems, right? We're just using a different delivery mechanism or a different angle to create content around that. So tools, templates, again, I'm going to give you some examples of these that really, really crush for us. Now, this also maps to a traditional funnel, right? A lot of traditional content funnels like Top Funnel, Problemware, those are cool. I'm not knocking them, but what we have here is, first of all, I want you to notice too, is that I started the main one here is the one that's at the bottom, more the mid to bottom funnel, which is how can you solve my main problem? How do you have a strategy? Do you have a mechanism? Do you have a process? Do you have a system? Do you have a piece of software that's actually going to solve my problem? That's the bottom of the funnel. And again, the core of this is content that converts. It's actually generating pipeline. So that's why I started up here. This is the most important piece of content you have. If you want to have one piece of content, if you look at internet marketers, right, you go to their website and you're like, how does this internet marketer make $10 million off the 3-page ClickFunnels website? It's because they've got some very simple but impactful content that's at the bottom of the funnel, and they're good at getting eyeballs and making offers to get people there to consume that content. And when they consume that content, whether it's a VSL or a webinar, they ultimately probably become a customer, right? So going back here real quick. So again, I always start here at the top of the funnel, the bottom of the funnel, the most important one. This is the content that I want to focus on. And then we get down here in terms of the level of importance of the content, but also going up funnel. So up funnel content is less important, but all this content, if done correctly, will generate leads and will generate customers for you, including very high level roundups and templates and tools. I'm going to show you some examples of this now that drive a ton of pipeline for us. So the point here again is, I heard I just interviewed somebody who's doing like 40 million in sales. And they said, when you focus on sales, your sales grow, right? So when we focus on content and content specifically that solves problems that all this content is mapping towards, it's going to help us to get to where we want to be, which is full pipelines, right? As opposed to, again, going and finding keyword topics and like all these different things. Like keywords are cool. I'm not knocking keywords, but that's what we want to do on the back end of this. After we identify the problems, after we come up with topics, then we map them to keywords to see if there's search volume. Because at the end of the day, SEO is just a distribution channel. It's not the content. And that's where so many SEOs get lost in this game, is that they're creating content for the sake of content just to rank, but nobody cares about it. Like, who cares? What's the point of creating content that doesn't make you money? Literally, you're spending time, money, and resource to create content that doesn't make you money. What's the point? So all of this content type here, again, maps directly to this funnel, which is a little bit untraditional because pretty much everything here is mid to bottom funnel content, but that's where the meat is. That's where the core is. This is what you have to create. Anything else you want to do on top of that is cool. You want to get on Snapchat and TikTok? I do that stuff too. But I don't deviate from these pieces of content. Again, this content that you're watching right now is actually one of these pieces of content. This is actually content that solves prospects and ancillary problems, right? Content that doesn't convert, how to build pipeline with organic content. I am solving a problem with this piece of content. If you are sitting here watching it, it's because you're like, damn, yeah, I want to build pipeline with organic content. This is poetry in motion here. I'm literally showing you exactly this process live through a piece of content here. And we'll talk about mediums too. Don't get confused with blog posts versus videos versus ads. Those are just mediums, right? This is talking about the core strategy, the core topics, the core concepts that we want to talk about and how we can frame and form those things. So this starts with knowing your who and their why. Again, it's all about you. It's not about me. It's about you. It's not about me. It's about you. And it's about knowing the who. And again, where so many companies get this wrong is they build like customer. This drives me crazy. I see like customer personas, right? Like This is Bob. Bob has a dog and Bob likes to walk his dog and he likes to listen to this music. It's like, who gives a shit? What does that have to do with making me money? What does that have to do with anything, right? What we want to know is their why. We do want to know the who, right? But our customers, it's like, how are you going to pigeonhole your customer, especially in today's market? You can't really do that in 2022, right? I mean, people identify in their own demographics how they identify, but we relate to them by their why, which is their problem. Their why is, why do they care about you? Why do they care about your business, about your service? And that's about their problems. That's about understanding their problems. So it's not about building some stupid demographic profile of a person. That means nothing, because when you actually try to market against that, you realize you're like, oh, yeah, they like Tony Robbins, but like, what does that have? Like, it just, there's just no relevance, right? So we relate to people through problems, and content is that medium that allows us to communicate that mechanism. So it's a very simple straw man. You can literally get a piece of paper and draw this out for how to understand what their why is. And I'm going to do this on behalf of the Blueprint Training. The Blueprint Training is one of my companies. We help agencies to scale to 100K a month. We have a very good system and process operationally to help agencies do that. We've got a framework, right? So if we're talking about this, if we're talking about, okay, how do we create content around this? How do we understand what their problems are? How do we know what their why is? It really starts with two things, right? What is their problem? What is their main problem that's holding them back from getting to what their dream scenario over here is, right? So we're calling their dream scenario for our target market based on what we offer, right? 6-figure months. Now you might be saying, why not do $1 million months, or why not do 10K months? Because our program is really built in our sweet spot is companies that are stuck right here at 20K a month. How do we know this? Because of sales conversations, because of emails that we get from clients, because of our Slack channel, because we listen and we have conversations. We're not going to a keyword tool and being like, oh, people are searching for how to make money with SEO or how to do this and how to do that. No, we're listening to our customers. We're talking to them. We're having conversations with them. We actually care, right? So we know that a large portion, we've identified these trends that they're stuck at 20K. And this doesn't have to be everybody, right? But for the most parts, agencies and consultants, they usually hit a plateau and a peak, right? And within that plateau and the peak, when you're around this revenue range, and this could be a band of 20K, you could be stuck at 5K, you could be stuck at 50K. The solutions, right, to get to this end goal, 100K per month, 6-figure months, breaks down into some very simple, and this is where we get into like the ancillary problems. So how do we as a business help one of our prospects go from 20K a month to 6 figures per month? It's very simple, right? The first thing that we suggest that you do is you have to pick a niche. You've got to know what your market position is, right? Literally what we're talking about now. You got to know your who, right? So as an agency, you're probably stuck because you're probably trying to do everything for everybody, right? You're doing SEO and email and just taking all this stuff and web design. You're a jack of all trades, but a master of none, right? So you got to pick a lane and stick to it, and you got to specialize in something and be the best in the world at it. That's number one. Number two is we recommend productizing a service, right? A productized service is something that you do scalably, repeatably, over and over again, and you can really only do that if you've got the right niche, right? So productizing service is something that allows you to increase margins, get more customers, just a whole bunch of benefits of productized services, right? And then number three is getting steady leads, right? Because if you're going to grow on this model, you've got to have leads. So this is our mechanism of how we get them from 20K a month to 6-figure months. And our whole program is built around this, right? Now, within this too, right? If we talk about how can we break this down into content, right? Because this is our solutions. These are not problems, right? Hopefully you caught me on that. These are not problems. These are our solutions. Well, what we want to start doing is we want to start mapping these back and deconstructing these from the eyes of our customers and prospects, right? So let's look at productized service, for example. I can't pull myself out of the business, right? Productizing a service helps with that. I'm working 24/7 nonstop. I can't get ahead. I'm always behind. If you productize your service, it'll help with that. I can't find and keep staff, right? Because you don't have processes, you got no systems, you got nothing. People walk into a clusterfuck and they're like, I can't handle this. I don't want to work here. Productizing your service will help with that. So these are all, what we're starting to do now is extract these problems, right? These problems we can then take and turn into content topics, right? We can take these and formulate these into pieces of content that will solve this. Now we just have to ask ourselves, how can we solve this? Well, you can productize a service. How can we solve working 24/7? Well, we can build processes. Well, let's talk about how to build processes, right? For agencies. And if you were to you would never find that topic by going to Ahrefs or SEMrush, because nobody's searching for it, because they don't know. They're not problem aware. Like if they knew this, if they knew that doing this would get them to 6 figures a month, don't you think that they'd be doing it? The answer is yes. So part of this content And the reason why content is so important is because it gives us a vehicle to communicate these things. It gives us a vehicle to help them understand. Damn, there's a fly in here. I live in Miami. It's in a freaking jungle out here. Is that we have to help. We have to move them down this awareness funnel. A lot of them don't even know that this is out there. So why would they be searching for it, right? And this allows us to go up market. This allows us to get in front of people before there's all that search demand and before the SERPs get bogged down by the fucking HubSpots and the Ahrefs of the world who are just pushing like just the same content over and over again. This allows us to give us a unique mechanism to get in front of people to identify these things ahead of time. It's very, very powerful stuff. Go ahead and drop me a comment if you guys are following this. If you have any questions on this, I'm making sense, I'm going too fast, I'm going too slow, go ahead and leave it below. So now let's get into some actual examples of this, right? Let's talk about how we can take these 5 pieces of content and map them to this very, very simple framework that we have. So again, the pain point is I'm stuck. My revenue is capped. I can't get past. I'm an agency. I'm a consultant. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to solve this. So our mechanisms are to pick a niche, productize your service, and then generate leads, right? Easier said than done, but we're going to break this down a little bit more. Don't worry. And if you can do that, then you're going to get 100K a month. I guarantee you, right? So the first one here, how to solve your clients' problems. So just very simply, how to go from 50K to 100K a month with the blueprint framework. Literally, this framework here, we just literally created a video about it. 30-minute webinar that literally talks about how to pick a niche. It talks about how to practice your service and talks about one way to get leads. Literally, we're telling you exactly how to solve your problem. This is the big piece of content. This is the bottom to mid funnel piece of content that so many out there just don't do. They just don't. They just start with this stuff, these like nonsense, like just keyword garbage, regurgitated articles that have no teeth. They have no value. And the beautiful thing about this is that, well, I hope you guys start asking some questions a little bit more and more. But when we talk about how to create this stuff in terms of like video, and do we put an email gate on top of this? Do we run this as a webinar? Do we run this as a blog post? This piece of content has so much teeth and so much value that we can put an email on top of it. And now we run it as an email capture, or we just run it as a blog post. We break this down and run it as multiple videos, right? There's so much value in this. This is literally our program. This is our service here. And we're telling you how to solve it. So if we can get somebody to watch it, right, or read the blog post, the likelihood of them becoming a prospect or raising their hand to want to have a conversation with our sales team is so much higher. It's literally the most important thing that you can do. So that's number one. Number two is how to solve these roadblocks, aka the ancillary parts, right? So again, now the first piece of content went after the whole thing. We're going to show you everything. We're going to show you exactly how to get, if you're a B2B company, for a SaaS company, I'm going to show you exactly how to get clients from Google. If you are a gym, right, and you offer like if you help people, you help women like build better booties, right, then like show them exactly how to do it. Give them everything. Tell them everything, right? This isn't, I'm obviously using the marketing niche because I know most of you marketers, it's going to be Corey actually just asked a very question. He said, cannabis doesn't have the same problems to be solved that a law firm does. That's exactly right, right? And that's why we want to drill into what these problems are and going through this very unique mechanism. Again, if you're a gym, right, you have a very different, your happy client is very different than, they're not coming to you to get 6-figure months. They're coming to get maybe 6-pack abs, or they're coming to you to get their confidence back, or they're coming to you to feel sexy, right? That's why you have to dig into what the why is. What's the core problem? Sometimes it's not 6-pack. Sometimes it's something else that you have to unpack. And that's where you can build a unique service and unique business here that addresses that. Actually, this is fresh in my mind because I have a friend who runs a gym, and we spent hours going through this with him and trying to identify, like, how can he stand out from the rest of the pack? I'm in Miami. There's a gym on every corner. There's new concepts popping up every single month. It's crazy competitive. How can he stand out? And basically going through this process, he realized that there was other things that he should be influencing. He said, okay, most of our clients are women, 80% women, right? And the women that come to us, they have a very specific body type and goal in mind, right? They want to have a certain type of figure. How do you get them to get that figure? Well, first and foremost, you got to work out 3 to 4 times a week. Period. You have to. You just have to. 2 is you got to eat a certain type of way. And then 3 is we got to keep them accountable because we got to keep them here. So those very 3 things there allowed him to literally build a gym business that's doing $1 million a year in revenue now, because he now understands how to help his clients get to his goal, get to their goals. And now once he has that, now he's able to spin off content that's very unique to that niche, to his customers and to their problems, right? Because a lot of these women are like, you could do content all day on like how to do a squat and how to do a sit-up, but that doesn't solve the problem, right? And again, that's content for the sake of content. So with this, now he has an offer that's running through ads and running through his website that basically says, this is our system. Like, get a free week, like a free week of this system. And we guarantee that after this week, like you're going to hit X goals, whatever that is, right? So now he's got this unique mechanism. It crushes it. It just crushes it. So going back to this example that we have here now, is should you select a niche for your agency, right? So these micro kind of roadblocks. Actually, somebody just asked this. Sam just asked, why is picking a niche so important, right? That is a perfect example of an ancillary problem, that niche, that market positioning. We create content around that. So the piece of content that you could create could be, should you select a niche for your agency? Boom, done. Great piece of content. How productizing helped our agency triple leads. Boom, done. The best agency lead gen tactic in 2021. So you can see how each one of these here now maps directly to one of these ancillary problems or sub-pillars of our service. Go ahead and drop me a comment. Let me know if that makes sense. So the third one here is useful templates to solve problems. I love this one. This is something that we use a lot. And I want you to understand too, when I say templates and tools, you don't have to be a dev shop. You don't have to create like a piece of software. But for whatever reason, man, people go crazy. People go crazy for templates. Y'all love templates out there, right? There's two that we use specifically here. One is and again, the key here is templates and tools that solve problems that are related to what you offer, right? I'm not talking about going out there and building like, people build like, I don't know, like keyword volume identifiers. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, because I know most of you are like agencies and marketers in here, right? That's solving a problem for other marketers. It's not solving a problem for the people who are actually going to pay you a lot of money to do your services for them. This is a huge mistake that so many content creators make in the marketing space. They create content that tries to beat their chest about how smart they are. And it's like, yeah, you built that to hear crickets, and you built it, that didn't solve anybody's problem that's actually going to pay you. You built that to solve another SEO's problem because your ego is so fucking big that you didn't understand that, because you were trying to impress someone that didn't actually matter, right? And I apologize if that came off harsh. I regretted it instantly. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to ask a little bit here and there. But anyways, the point of the making here is that these tools and templates, right, are very, very powerful when they are mapping to your prospects' problems. You have to be solving their problems. You got to be speaking to them. And sometimes we have to separate ourselves. And this was actually, when I say the whole ego thing, that was me. That was me. When the first version of Webrus, I was creating so much content because I felt like I had to prove myself. I felt like I had to prove myself to other people who thought I was just a loudmouth making videos, right? I felt that I had to prove it. And what ended up happening? I created a ton of content that did not generate any pipeline. Fortunately for me, it did end up spinning off in the blueprint, because I was able to build a small community of marketers that, you know, like what I said. But the point that I'm making here, guys, is that like, you got to focus on your customers. You got to focus on the people who are paying your bills, not the people who aren't, right? This is a whole nother thing when it comes to content and being confident in creating content and having a voice, because you owe it to yourself to speak out and have a voice. That it doesn't, the people who you're not talking to don't matter. Like, guys, the amount of like ridiculous messages that I get from people with so much hate and so much vitriol in their hearts and their minds against me for just creating content that's trying to help people is insane, right? People have opinions. It doesn't matter, right? You have a business to run, and it doesn't fucking matter what they think. So the point that I'm trying to make here is neither here nor there, but templates are really good. So two that we use here that have generated a ton of interest, a ton of leads for us through the blueprint is our free SEO project plan template, right? So where does this map in? It maps into a productized service, because this project plan template here, project plan template is all about productizing your service. It's scalable, and it's a repeatable template that we use over and over and over again. Great piece of content that maps directly to one of the problems, productizing service. The other one here is the SEO proposal template. This helps us to close more leads, which ties in here to this pillar over here. All of these things here, again, tie into the problems that our customers are having. Next one up, client case studies, how we helped X do Y. So an example of this could be like, how we increased, Brendan Hufford's agency from 50K. I see you in here, Brendan. That's why I'm using you to 70K, right? Again, this is all about showcasing your ability to do stuff. Now, most case studies that are created are traditional kind of like, again, look at what we did, this and that. But we'll talk about this in a second, because I've got some examples. Because there's some agencies out there that do this very well without saying me, and saying, here's the problem that I know you're having, and I'm going to tell you the story of solving this problem through how I helped X, Y, and Z do it. I do it all the time. I actually just posted a video this week on cannabis SEO, and I'm talking about how to do cannabis SEO, but really what I'm doing is talking about how I do it for the largest cannabis company in the country. What does that do? It's like, oh, okay, not only he knows what he's talking about, but he's doing it, and I'm basically just authority jacking them, right? So very small tactics that you'll pick up as you get more into this game. The last one, again, the high-level interesting roundups or education ones, 5 profitable niches for agency. Y'all already know. If you saw this floating down your timeline, you'd click on it for sure. And why? Because again, I know that this, like selecting a niche, this whole positioning thing is a major problem and it's a major headache. And a lot of people out there know it, but they don't take action on it. So we create a lot of content around it and it lends very good to us. So these are the 5, these are examples just kind of off the top of my head. If y'all have any questions on these, let me know. Now I'm going to get into some more examples. So I'm just going to go through all these content types again. So how to solve your prospect's main problem. Again, at our agency, we mainly work with B2B companies. So this video that I did here, B2B SEO, 3 tips to 3x your leads from Google, crushes it for us. And what I want to talk about quickly now too is the mediums, right? So my process is video first, because when I create a video, right, there's really 3 main mediums that you want to try and tackle if you're operating at scale: written word, audio, video. Right now, each one of those has a different kind of like reach. Inherently, video gets the best reach because you can put it on YouTube, you can put it on social media, you can cut it up and run it as ads, you can use it as webinars, VSLs, all the above, right? And also what's great about video is that I create a video and then I pass it to a writer who then writes it for me, because writing is very time consuming. I can film a video in 30 minutes and be done with it. With that video, I can then also just export it as a video file, slap a little podcast intro on it, and now I've got a podcast. So from one topic, from one piece of content, I've now created 3. That's tackling 3 different distribution channels. The written word goes for organic search. The YouTube video goes for YouTube, which is its own search engine, but I can also take that and promote that other places, promote to my email list. And the audio one, again, it hits podcasts and all that stuff. So it's just important to note, like, this isn't about how to create video or written word. Again, this is about the core topic. And again, when it's a good core topic, like we're talking about here, when it solves problems, it's malleable to create for whatever platform that you want. You can literally take this and turn this into a long form LinkedIn post. Brendan Hufford has been crushing it with LinkedIn organic stuff. Like I don't even think he creates anything else. I don't think he does video. I don't think he does blog posts. I don't think he does podcasts. I think he just posts on LinkedIn and he gets customers, but he literally follows the same framework. He just creates his content on LinkedIn and boom, he's getting leads out the ass, right? Because he's focused on communicating about problem solving, literally using this exact same 5-piece of content framework. So this one again here, macro problem, how to get more leads from Google. Now, this one is from rankings.io. Love Chris, they crush it. And he makes a lot more money than me. So I'm not going to try and change this at all. But this one doesn't necessarily map to the how to solve the main problem. Why? Because this is already, and like when we go to, of course, I'm going to draw a blank here when I'm live and everyone's looking at me, but what's the 5 stages of awareness, I believe it is, right? So the challenge when you create this, like instead of I would just change this as, again, how to get leads for how lawyers can get leads without paying for them, or like free leads, something like that. Because what that does, it puts it up at a much higher interest level. Because when you title this as SEO, right, you're only talking to people who are in market or interested in SEO, as opposed to going above that to attorneys that all of them care about getting leads. They all do. Do they all care about SEO though? Maybe when the time is right. But doing this shrinks the market for this piece of content. That's all. Everything else about this is great. This is an amazing guide. It's on ranks.io, and this is a good example of how to communicate. The content is actually good. I would just change the targeting of the headline, literally that's it, to how to get leads as opposed to, or how to get new client cases as opposed to SEO guide, because it just cuts down on your kind of people who actually will care about this. So next one up, in terms of, now we're talking about how to solve the prospect's ancillary problem. So the 2 before that were how to solve the main problem, right? We're throwing the whole kitchen sink. Here's how clients can get, here's how attorneys can get more cases organically. Here's how B2B companies can fill their pipeline organically. Boom. Talks about the entire process, stages of awareness. Thank you, Corey. Next one down here is how to solve the prospects' ancillary problems, right? So again, something that we hear a lot from our prospects, our sales team, is that we're getting leads that are pissed off with their SEO agencies, that are just talking about content for the sake of content, just to rank in Google. But like, who cares about ranking in Google? Money pays the bills, right? That's what matters. So what we did is we created a piece of content around this, right? Literally taking the same thing, but just reformatting it to be, here's how to actually get your content to, this isn't rank, sorry, this is titled wrong. Here's how to actually get your content to generate leads, not just rank, right? And this also allows us to take this and use this as an advertising asset, which has been working very well for us, going after that problem, right? So again, the problem that we're solving here is not how to rank in Google. It's how to get your content that you're paying for, that you're investing in, to actually generate leads for your software business, for your B2B company, for your attorneys, whatever it is, right? Very small change, very, very small change, but massive, massive impact, right? That's what we're all about here. So now we're moving down a little bit more into the tools and templates to solve problems. This is the traffic projection tool that we run. We use this at our agency. We use it at the Blueprint training. Really good example of a very simple spreadsheet that syncs with a data studio report. It just pulls in data from SEMrush and analytics. And what it allows us to do is forecast, right? Build accurate forecasts of what an SEO campaign would look like before investing. So what's the problem? Well, the problem that we're having is that SEO companies are full of shit, and we're tired of hearing all the lines from them about how much traffic they're going to get. But at the end of the day, then we get in there and they're like, yeah, there's not much search volume, right? So this tool solves a problem that we heard about in the market from our leads, from our customers, about how they want to know what they're getting before they put their money into it. Not that difficult, right? So again, this isn't a tool that we thought was cool. This isn't a tool that we thought would get cute shares on Twitter from SEO Twitter. This is a tool that solves a problem for prospects, which is why we run it direct to cold audiences on Facebook with an offer, literally with the copy, hey, your SEO agency is basically pulling the wool over your eyes. And we got a tool that will tell you exactly how much traffic you could and should be getting, how much traffic you deserve, how much traffic you're missing from Google. It's free. Hit the link below. Boom. We generate leads off Facebook to this day for 2 years running from cold audiences for $150. Leads, booked phone call leads that turn into paying customers for us. It's incredible. Why? Not because the tool is so cool, not because the tool does anything crazy. It's because it speaks to a very specific problem that we know that our target customers have. Boom. Next one. Case studies. So this is, I didn't change this. Sorry. This is from Siege Media. Ross Hudgens, one of the best content marketing agencies in the country, probably. They very good offer when it comes to content and SEO and getting content to rank and all that stuff, right? So this is a good example of a case study, because you see how we titled this, how to increase web traffic, right? This is about how to get more website traffic. But if you read it and it's on their blog, you'll see that it's actually a case study, because he's talking about a client the whole time here, how they got a client to increase. But how this is positioned, how this is angled, is how you can get more organic traffic, how you can increase your website visitors, not how we, right? It's a huge change, because when you go to any agency or any B2B website, it's all about we. Our case studies like, look at us, look what we've done, look at it. And that's fine. Those have a place, right? For people that are all the way down in the stages of awareness, for people that are in market looking for an agency. But you can't take those case studies and run that at the top funnel. You can't run those to cold audience. You can't run those ads. People don't care about them. They don't care about you. They care about themselves and the problems that they're having. So when you change your case studies to be focused on the problems that they're having, as opposed to what you can offer, it's night and day. Then people will share it. Then people will care about it. Then people will link to it. Then people want to see it. Then they'll read it. And then people will actually, when they see it and read it, again, the goal here of content is consumption. I don't care if you read the whole thing. I want you to understand what I said. If you understand what I said and you contextualize it, then the chance of becoming a customer might not be right now. Exactly, makes them the hero. Might not be right now, but in the future, the chance of becoming a client is going to be much, much higher, because you're going to remember that. So the next one and the last one here is the high-level roundups related to problems. This one's from Client Boost. If you go to their blog, their whole blog is pretty much high-level roundups. But again, it's not random stuff that is based off keywords. You know, there's definitely some keyword implications here, because they crush it when it comes to organic search. But they're solving problems. They're solving ancillary problems that their prospects are having, right? One of them being, my landing pages don't convert. How do I get landing pages to convert? Well, here's 40 examples. Boom, done. So these are really good too, because the reason I love this format is people love listicles. They BuzzFeed when I say listicles, right? They're easy to browse, they're easy to skim, they're easy to consume, they're easy to digest. You don't have to sit there and spend 40 minutes reading an article. You can skim it in 40 seconds and you can consume it. The goal here is consumption. If they consume it, they will remember it. If they remember it, then they'll probably want to work with you. Solve their problem, right? So a really good example is Client Boost. They've got a ton of these high-level listicle roundups. So again, just to kind of reiterate this is my last slide. Then we're going to start opening up the comments. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and start firing away now, because I'll just go ahead and open this up for Q&A. So the process that we follow here is ideation. and then validation, right? And for all you SEOs out there that are wanting to punch me in the face for not talking about keywords because I think they don't matter, this is my process. So start with problems, right? Brainstorm a list of problems, literally draw that straw chart that I showed you. What is the problem that they're having? Where do they want to get to? And how do we help them get there? Just start by brainstorming that. I'm telling you, it's so simple, but it's so powerful, so impactful. Well, we're going the wrong way. The next thing is drilling into the pillars, right? So those are the, again, going back to our 6-figure months example. So like positioning, productization, and lead generation. We want to drill into those, tap into their interests, what type of content will catch and hold their attention. I kind of just list those out for you. And then this is more for internal, add them to your content workbook and then flush them out, right? And when you're flushing them out, this is what I like to do, right? So I start here, and this is why it's so powerful. I have to work with my team on this a lot, is I start with the problems and I validate using keywords, not the opposite way, right? This ensures that 100% of the content that we create has a massive impact and is going to, again, generate pipeline for us. So then after we have these topics ideated, right, then we go to Google, then we go to keyword research tools, then we validate them. Because yes, SEO is important, but it shouldn't, you don't want to lead with SEO. SEO is just a distribution tool. Google is a way for people to see our content. So we want to optimize our content for that, but we don't want to change our content for that, right? And this is, again, something that is very important, is that you don't change your content based on keywords, because again, if there's no searches, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. What it means is that maybe the market just hasn't identified this yet. Maybe the market doesn't know that productization is a solution for the problems that they're having. So when they're searching for the problems, they're not searching for the right thing. And that's where you make a lot of money. That's where you make a lot of money, is when you have a unique offer that the market has not caught up with yet. That's why we crush at the blueprint, because there's other SEO training companies out there for sure. There's other communities, but they don't get what your problems are. They're trying to teach you SEO. They're trying to teach you how to do keyword research. And I'm like, no, just Google it. You can learn how to do, like, what you want me to teach you how to do keyword research? It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. I'm here to teach you how to make money. I'm here to teach you how to get to 6 figures a month. I can help you do that. You can learn keyword research anywhere, right? It's key. It's so critical. I can't emphasize that enough. That's in any business that you're running. That, like, we help people make more money. But again, if you go to the fitness industry, it's not about making more money. It's about helping make them feel better about themselves, right? So understanding what those things are, what those core motives are as human beings, what drives us psychologically, evolutionary, what drives human beings. It's not to learn about keyword research, right? Again, anyone who with half a brain will go to Google and type in how to do keyword research and just find a blog post about it, because it's not hard. But how to use that, how to apply that, how to do that at scale, how to do that for clients, how to charge for it, how to position it, how to sell it. That's what we can help with, right? And that's what we drill into. And that's why our business stands out head and shoulders above the rest. So I'll pop those keywords into pop those keywords into Ahrefs or SEMrush, and also do some research on YouTube too, again, because I create a lot of video, and I'll also do some stuff on social media. I'm using a lot TikTok for a lot of stuff now. TikTok is great. So that's pretty much it. If y'all have any questions, go ahead and fire this back over to YouTube Live. Let me see if we got anything here. Please fire away. I'll stick around for a few more minutes here and answer any questions that you guys might have. So Armando said, will the slide be available? Why do y'all love slides so much? I just showed you every slide in here. If you want it, I'll post it underneath the video. It's wild. I'm not picking on you, Armando. That's like the #1 question. I just did a 45-minute presentation, and this happens pretty much every time. And people are like, can I get the slides? I'm like, yeah, you can get the slides. No problem. I'll post them underneath the video, or I'll send it out as an email afterwards. Doesn't look like there's many questions here. So I'll just go ahead and wrap this up. Carlos asked macro versus micro. So macro just means larger. Micro means smaller. So when I say macro offer, I'm usually talking about the business offer, right? What is it the business sells? What is it that we help people actually do? Versus micro offer, which is one of basically the smaller offers, right? So webinars, VSLs, tools, templates, things like that, things that we can put an email on top of. Micro is really, how do we solve the ancillary problems? I do talk fast. I'm from Boston, baby. Come on. So Carlos also asked, I'm currently outsourcing SEO. I'm the authority in my space, but I'm low-key scared. Well, if you're the authority, then look, I don't have any issue with outsourcing, right? I think that we have to define outsourcing. Outsourcing means that you're taking something and giving it to somebody else, right? As a like offshoring just means that you're taking something and pushing it off. I just hire people, man. If you're the authority and you want to build a real business that makes real money with real profits over the long term, you got to do it yourself. Like this is another thing. I didn't want to turn this into like an agency session here, but like this is my biggest kind of thing with agencies is that like agencies don't understand that like your service is your product. Like why are you outsourcing it, man? You know, like there's parts that you can outsource for sure, but like you should be aiming to build something of tremendous value in-house, something that only you can do, right? If you're the authority, don't outsource it. Build a business, man. Let me know if that makes sense. Sam asked, what do you think is a reasonable price range for a productized SEO service and what would the products be? I'm going to just go ahead and say that we have everything for you in the blueprint when it comes to productized services. So we literally give it to you and we tell you what it should be priced and we teach you how to price it. I don't have enough time to go into that here. So yeah, definitely check out the blueprint.training, Sam. We've also got a community that you can check out. You ask me some more follow-ups in there. It might be a better format for this. So Corey asked, earlier you mentioned the stages of awareness. To what degree do you consider top, middle, funnel, bottom funnel in this process? It kind of maps similar to it, right, Corey? You know, when the stages of awareness are, you know, problem aware, solution aware, I don't know exactly what they are, but they're all cut from the same cloth, right? All these funnels, all these intent funnels, keyword funnels, stages of awareness, remarketing funnels, they're all kind of the same. So it's tough for me to answer that question because they're kind of the same, if that makes sense. Anytime, Carlos. All right, looks like that's all the questions. So I'll go ahead and cut this off, but if y'all need me, you know where to find me. I'll say this too. I think it's important. We have a Slack community on the blueprint. Oh, Brendan just came in. In terms of service quality, imagine it has to be so good that the only way to grow is referrals. Then how good would your service be? Okay, that was not a question for me. That was a question for the group. Thank you for that, Brendan. So yeah, again, let me just finish this call to action here is that we have our Slack community for marketers. If you guys enjoyed this, this is the tip of the iceberg for the stuff that we provide in there. It's $59 a month. It's literally the same price as Uber Eats for a lunch. The blueprint.training, there's a big link up there that says Slack community. Definitely join it. And if y'all have any questions, drop them in the comments here. I'll get to them as soon as I can, or hit me up in Slack. That's why we have it. It gives you one-on-one access to myself and my team. Ask whatever you want. SEO, marketing, agency stuff. We're here for you. We out here. So yeah, I appreciate you all. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to do more of these in the future as well. So make sure you drop a like,